Come on, hold it tight. Yeah, like that. No stab. By the thrice rotten balls of Baldraw, you call that a stab? I'm going to show you, you brat.
A loud bass voice boomed throughout the forest, causing the windows of nearby log cabin to rattle and pine trees to sway like in a gust of wind. A small squirrel appeared in a hole and looked sadly upon the scene under its tree. This place used to be so nice and calm, but lately she was seriously thinking about moving away, or asking her cousin, a famous squirrel scientist, to invent squirrel-sized earplugs.
What is the meaning of this?
The window burst open, revealing a face of a woman framed by a mane of red hair. She was truly beautiful, though no longer young, but her beauty was marred by a grimace that was 50-50 mix of fierce rage and utter astonishment.
What are you doing with a boy, Quarter? Have you gone crazy? What, you idiot!
The red-haired woman didn't bother going around the door. She just jumped out through the window and stalked angrily toward her suddenly nervous prey.
Well, you know,
The gigantic man said uncertainly, scratching his neck under the rim of a big steel helmet adorned with mountain ram horns. The barbarian turned the battle axe in his hands around, stuck the spike at the head in the dirt, and tried to lean against the handle.
I'm teaching the brat to fight. What does it look like? You think I'm teaching him to dance or what? I gave him my dagger. It's about the right size for him now, as a longsword. But his dump is a tree rat. You call it a stab? I've seen dead porcupines with better stabbing skills, huh? What you gonna say to this, Valeria? 'Cause I thought you gave me a son, not a pathetic little good-for-nothing.
The barbarian warrior Quarter Punch's face, son of Headbiter Punch's face, son of Heartyanker Punch's face, glared at his son. It was a lot safer than trying to stir his wife, who had forgotten her astonishment and gone into pure rage mode.
He's only 1 year old, you dumb pile of muscles. Have you been drinking again? Or showing off how you can crash through the wall with your head if you run fast enough? 1 year old, you dumb barbarian fool. Your ex is smarter than you. Do you know why the trick with the wall works for you? Because Wiser gives in. You just look at him, poor little thing.
Their son, whose child's name was Killamal, according to his father, and Michael, according to his mother and the village registry, finally used the dagger, which was about as long as he was tall, and fell on his butt. He could no longer hold back the tears and began to cry silently.
And now he's crying. I was taught to fight even before I could walk, and look how far I made it,
The barbarian said. He gained his adult name for his favorite axe trick that allowed him to turn 2 to 3 enemies into 8 to 12 quarter enemies, with a small disadvantage of doing the same thing to any ally standing right next to him. 2 years of happily loud marriage had taught him that winning the argument was next to impossible, but he couldn't give up without a fight. Hundreds of his barbarian ancestors would roll in their graves, mass graves, locked Draugr coffins, or old forgotten dung heaps for those unfortunate enough to pass through intestinal tract of mighty monsters after their death. It wasn't just a matter of a personal pride. It was actually a question of public safety too, and Quarter wasn't sure how much he annoyed his ancestor already by marrying outside the clan and moving from the mountains, so he was very careful to keep on the safe side. A host of enraged ancestor spirits could easily wreak havoc on a whole countryside while looking for the descendant whose cowardice had awakened them from their dreams of fighting and killing and drinking. It could even lead to a war, as in the case of Quarter's great-great-great-uncle Thought His Ass. True, that was a result of a string of particularly stupid decisions made by several less than wise persons, and got triggered by Quarter's cousin Bonestorter, who mistook a particularly big boar for a woolly mammoth, and backed away. This act of cowardice led to an extraordinary event because all mountain clans had to join together, perhaps for the first time in history, to stab the enraged ancestor spirit who hadn't noticed he had already crashed Bonestarter on the first day and kept searching for him. The clans had to assault an Empire Legion and steal their heavy siege equipment, then spend a lot of time by shooting a mountain or two worth of stone boulders through his ass while fending off Empire counterattacks. Though clearly Bonestarter's fault, everyone felt that his ass himself should take some blame, too, for being stupid enough to get killed and soul-trapped by a nefarious wizard. There were no doubts about the idiocy of said wizard, who used the barbarian's soul to power an experimental war golem.
Yeah, you made it to an old fool who thinks that working with his head means beating enemies with it,
shouted Valahir, hugging her crying son.
Next time, you're going to try if he's fast enough to dodge an arrow. Am I right, you stupid barbarian asshole?
The drama was just too much for the little squirrel. It started to pack its things, which didn't take much time, since her hole in the tree was empty, except for some shed fur, and moved a few miles away to a comfortable place in an old apple tree next to the village blacksmith. It found peace there, and the blacksmith's son, who just learned how to actually hit something with his sling.
Well,
Quarter planned the training in the basics of anti-archer combat for the afternoon, as soon as the boy masters the basic moves, but it was probably better to keep his mouth shut, especially now that Valahir stood next to a pile of logs, and she had already proven that, if angry enough, she could swing one with surprising strength for a supposedly weak member of the civilized aristocracy.
What do I have to do for you to understand? The boy must learn to walk and talk first before you can start teaching him your barbarian nonsense. Are we clear? Or do I have to take the boy and move back to my mother until he grows up?
The mention of mother-in-law brought a feeling of an icy dread that in a weaker man would be called a paralyzing fear. Quarter had been told that a female species could be more dangerous than a male, and he knew this for a fact, due to his encounter with a female dragon, where the circumstances were probably bad enough for even his most savage ancestors to grudgingly suggest that maybe he should start thinking about retreating. After meeting his in-laws, he'd given a choice between living with them or returning to the dragoness lair. He would seriously consider the crazy lizard as a better and safer alternative.
I meant it well,
he said, trying to mitigate the damage to his marriage.
I thought I should maybe take care of the boy too, so you could have some time for yourself.
He was never good with words, except for battle cries, and this was really hard. Luckily, unlike her mother, Valahir snapped out of the fury as fast as she could get into it. Usually all she had to do was to break something over Quarter's head, and it seemed that this moment was getting closer because she was looking at a pile of logs.
It was a good idea wearing armor for the training,
Quarter thought.
If you want to teach him to talk.
There was still some anger in her voice, but most of the fierce steam had already disappeared.
When I tried that, you were almost as angry.
Valahir wanted to make a histrionic gesture and grab her hat in despair, but she remembered, at the last possible moment, that she's still holding her son.
Yeah, you tried. And what have you thought, our boy? What was his first word?
Kill,
Quarter said proudly. He celebrated his first teaching success with a bottle of moonshine made from pine cones and squirrel droppings, a horrible local stuff that reminded him of the barbarian beer he grew up with. The next day hangover was so dreadful that he actually welcomed Valahir's insistence on breaking stuff on his head.
You're not teaching him to talk. You're just repeating your stupid battle shouts and calls. You're getting on my nerves, Quarter, son of Punch's face. Just look at him.
The boy wasn't crying anymore. He was just watching the argument between his parents in silence, obviously frightened.
Say something, Misha,
his mother ordered. Kick. The boy hesitated. He decided that since his mother was the one holding him, and his father was quite far away, the right answer should be the other one.
Mommy?
He asked carefully.
Mommy,
he repeated louder when it was clear he made the right choice.
Come, Mommy will fix you something nice to eat. And you, Quarter, I don't want to lay my eyes on you for the rest of the day.
Just wait till he grows up,
Quarter mumbled, very, very quietly, just for himself.
I'm gonna make him a proper barbarian, you'll see. I wonder what name he picks for himself when he becomes adult.
For a moment he just stared into the distance and dreamed about future, heroic, barbaric, and bloody deeds for which his offspring will become known in all the land. The years passed, full of loud arguments and various items broken over a thick barbarian skull, but the boy grew. Quarter often grumbled that his son was small and weak, but actually he was quietly proud. The boy was smaller and weaker than a proper barbarian, maybe, but smart and learning fast. Too bad that so much of that learning was the civilized, useless stuff. Quarter had to admit in the end that basic skill in reading, even writing, can be sometimes useful even for a proper barbarian, and the boy seemed to prefer the civilization. Not just those slightly useful things like war wagons, catapults, and health insurance that even an axe-wielding barbarian surrounded by a horde of dead enemies could appreciate. The barbarians were capable of appreciating many things beside their true love, the combat. Gold, wine, beautiful and willing young ladies. Quarter froze and carefully looked around to make sure that Valahir was not somewhere close. The word he didn't even know existed before he married her, infidelity, was one she explained to him very, very thoroughly. And sometimes it felt like Belahira could just read his mind without actually using her spells. Like the time in the market with that wonderful exotic-looking lady. On the other hand, the kick to his knee meant that he was now able to predict rain and storms as well as village weathercasters told. His wife was nowhere to be seen, so he indulged himself in the dangerous luxury of dream full of shapely and eager brunettes, blondes, and redheads. The dream was shattered when he noticed what young Killimal was holding in his hand, looking intently into it.
What's that, boy?
Quarter asked in a tone that made sure he wasn't going to like the answer, no matter what it was. Um, The boy, already moving past puberty, looked a bit scared. You know that? He finally had an item, I say. Do you remember how you told me that I can use almost anything imaginable as an improvised weapon in case I don't have a proper one? His father nodded, though he was sure he actually said something like,
They surprise you without weapons. Look around and grab the first thing that's big enough, hard enough, or heavy enough. It always makes crushing their heads a bit easier.
So, I was thinking that if I could use a book for that. Look, it's big and heavy, and look, the ironwork, that's especially nice, don't you think? I thought maybe if I asked a blacksmith to make a special iron book bending, sharpened, I could even use it to cut someone's head off. Quarter couldn't help himself and nodded, because having admittedly weird ideas about cutting someone's head off was exactly the kind of mindset he tried to instill in his son. Kill 'em all, encouraged by the nod, went on. Just imagine it, what a perfect hidden weapon. Nobody would expect a thing. It's just some stupid bookworm, and then I just jump and...
All right. You win. But now leave the thing here and come with me. You can repeat everything I told you about throttling and neck breaking, but it's time for a practical test. The blacksmith said he noticed some bear tracks near the foxhole. Well, boy, you're going to be...
Quarter hesitated to be really sure he wouldn't have to use his toes, but he decided to risk it.
18. Oh, yeah, 18. Means you're gonna be adult, son. You know what it means. You can finally choose your own adult name, based on the first barbaric, heroic deed you commit. Perform. Have you already decided what it's gonna be?
Yes, Dad. His son smiled.
What it's gonna be? Come on, out with it.
No, Dad. It's going to be a surprise.
Well, all right. But I hope you're not going to disappoint me and your ancestors. Oh, one thing I just remembered.
Yeah?
Why the frozen hell have you been going to the town lately so often?
There's a circus there now, with a pen full of dangerous animals, Dad. I go to town to watch them.
Watch?
The father asked suspiciously.
Why watch them by Croom's soiled loincloth?
The pens and cages look rather weak, his son explained, following his prepared cover story. And I'm kinda sure that sooner or later something will break up. And if I'm there, I can test that monster head theory you've been describing to me, Dad. Quarter felt very proud at that moment and thought to himself,
The boy is still rather small and weak, but his mind is sharp. He remembers everything, and he's so cunning, I wouldn't think of that. On the other hand, I'd have been even prouder if he crawled inside one night, broke the cages, and killed all the monsters in the circus, including the guards. But I know that would piss off his mother, and her father would be screaming something about public imagery at me. Good enough, more than good enough. Excellent, boy. But enough with that. I'm going to show you something.
he hesitated and asked,
Mom is not back yet.
No, she's still with Grandma.
Good, good.
Valahir made it clear he's not going to teach this trick to young Kill-em-all. But as a good parent, it was his duty to pass on every trick he had to his offspring.
So, you know Mom and her adverbs. It's usually bullshit. And I'm going to show you. That one, you can't break the wall with your head. Bullshit. It required some experimenting, but I found out that it all depends on the speed. You just need to have enough of a run-up, so come and watch. And the day has come, Sonny. You're adult now, so kill 'em all.
Michael, Valahir interjected.
This is the last time I'm calling you by that name. Our ancient barbarian tradition says that today you'll pick your new name and commit the deed that will make you an adult. Hooray!
Quarter shouted loud enough to be heard in the village.
You've been annoying me for a year now, being all secret like so. What have you chosen?
Then he noticed Valahir's smile.
What, they told her, not me,
he thought. The young barbarian stood up. I guess it's going to be a surprise for you, Dad.
Come on out already, out with it.
Do you know what ballet is?
What?
Quarter stared at his son.
What about that dancing they do in town? What do you mean?
He frowned.
You wanna kill all those assholes? I guess we could call it a good deed, if not a heroic one, but because that's gonna be so easy. But as much as I just don't want to discourage you from doing something bloody, Grandpa will be screaming something about destroying culture and stuff.
No, Dad. I want to join them.
What?
Quarter screamed in anger and terror. His bloodthirsty screams were generally powerful, but he never ever used so much power in his shout. When the dust from the destruction of the log cabin settled, Quarter repeated the question, only at a slightly lower volume. The village weathercaster, half a mile away, angrily stepped on his new toad, which had forecasted sunny, no rain, instead of the clearly coming storm. I'm going to join the ballet group, Dad. He always said that a man must know his place and have his own goals. I want to become a ballet dancer, Dad, the best in the world. So I'm choosing the name Ballet. I know it might be a bit of disappointment for you. The newly named barbarian ballet dancer, Ballet, punched his face, shut his mouth. He must have expected that his father wouldn't be happy, but...
Get out. Get out of my house. From the ruins of my house, you miserable worm. How could you?
The aging barbarian clutched at his chest and hissed in pain. Valahir stopped smiling and quickly hugged her husband. Quarter was mumbling something. His face, which had been so red just a moment ago, was now deadly white. You should go, son. Good luck, Misha. Ballet. Goodbye, Mom, Dad. I'll send you a postcard once in a while.
I need a vacation, honey. How could he do this to me?
Quarter sat on a bench in front of the ruins of the house, and he was close to crying. He took another pull of the squirrel's special.
How could he?
Come on, love. You wouldn't want to stand in the way to his happiness, would you? Times have changed. The barbarians are becoming a relic, an old legend.
Bella here was trying to comfort her husband, but she felt proud.
I taught him well, ballad. That should stop all the plans my husband and my own damn father have for my son. He is not going to be either a barbarian marauder or a new dark conqueror,
she thought, while nodding to the vacation plans her husband was mumbling about.
We need a vacation. I need something nice to happen to me for a change. I heard there are some goblins near the Black Tower again, so I was thinking about quartering a few of them.
That sounds interesting, Dad. Can I join you? A shy voice asked. Quarter jumped to his feet and turned around, followed by confused Valahira. Their son was standing there in light armor, armed with a sword and very apologetic smile. You know, I've changed my mind, Dad. Can't change the name, but I guess I was always destined to be better barbarian than ballad dancer. He sighed and looked into his father's eyes. Can you forgive me, please? You said you did a lot of stupid things yourself when you were young. Quarter opened his mouth and closed it again. He wasn't sure what to say at first.
No jokes, boy. You mean this?
He finally asked. Yeah, Dad, can we go after the goblins? And when we get back, I'd like to ask you if you could put in a word for me in the emergency guard. In case I won't be able to find another job, I'm hoping those guys from Cheap Killing Company might take me on as an apprentice monster hunter, but...
Goblins!
Wrote Quarter happily.
Let's go get some goblins.
He didn't bother to think about why his son had changed his mind so suddenly. He was just happy. Unlike Vela here, who finally managed to say something.
Why?
Well, you know, Mom. Bella hesitated when he met her eyes.
Why the hell are you not going to be a goddamn ballad dancer? Explain right now.
Well, Mom, I've been there, and they said...
What did they tell you?
That it's impossible. I had a feeling that the doctor wanted to laugh in my face, only he didn't dare. Like he was scared for some reason.
Why is it impossible?
He said a lot of things.
What things?
Oh, like that it's a beautiful dream, and that I can move pretty well, but he can't just take me in, and neither can any other ballad dance group.
Why?
He said something about the load-bearing capacity of an average dance floor, and then he said that I just lack physical capabilities for ballad dancing, or rather, that my physical capability is just too much.
Too much?
He said that a barbarian 7 feet tall and over 300 pounds heavy with size 15 boots just cannot do ballad. I still hadn't figured out why he thought that, but he was insistent.